Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So, on the farm, as you can see, first day of winter. And after running around this morning, taking a look at what I needed to do, I have decided I'm going to go ahead and do some field work. What am I stuck on? Must be the spreader arm getting stuck on that beam there. So yeah, I need to lime the fields. And there's nothing specific to do right now, but I do have some time. So that's why I decided to go ahead and do that. And I'll kind of show what I was looking at. Other than that, let's see. The silo, the big one here, is fertilizer. I need to get rid of what I've got, which I should be able to do. Maybe not. I might have to put it in a truck. I think I recall that being a problem. But I can always do that if I need to, but I will try. Yeah, looks like it's going to require that. So let me go out here and dump that. And then I'll pick that up with my truck later and get that taken care of. Not enough space. Well, it did unload. It told me not enough space, but it shows 0. So actually, I don't want to leave it and then run out of time or something. So I'm going to go ahead and get that into the silo. Alright, so I've got it all picked up. It should let me dump it here then. I have all my hoses hooked up. That's what I ran into last time when I was fighting it. And I am then going to go ahead and leave this over here because I will need this later today. So the real reason I was coming onto the server was for the pigs. So you can see we still have 3,500 liters of food this morning. So they are chewing through. The good news is, though, however, this probably indicates we're really closer to 3 days in getting through everything, which obviously extends my timelines beyond the calculations I was doing before. But I wanted to be conservative to make sure that I understood. I still am going to go ahead with my plan and get the sorghum or corn in for this coming year. You know, that is what has been driving, or what drove me on here, but I really want to get very close to empty. You know, I'd prefer obviously not to be empty. So at some point this morning, I'm going to go ahead, but I do have this is a good day for this to happen, in that you know, I think I can kind of poke around and check every few hours and then do it. And then again, it's just getting them food and kind of tracking it a bit. So we have about 120,000 liters of lime here. And if I look at my map, you can see both fields need lime. If you remember, I think there was one time I had lime and I didn't want to maybe deal with putting it in the silo or whatever that I spread early. So I think that's what those lines are. Although that seems awfully thin, but regardless, you know, there's some stuff there. Plan is to definitely go ahead and work on that. I'm going to start at the top end because again, lime tends to get consumed pretty quickly. I don't know if the 120,000 is going to be enough to get everything done. I don't recall that. You know, if not, it's not as if we can't buy any, but it just becomes obviously more more time, more work, and given what I'm able to do, I may decide to do things later, wait to line the other part of the field till later. But at this point, not really a reason not to do it now, so go ahead and get set up. And then we will get going, and I guess I'll I always tend to think I'm wide enough, and then suddenly I'm not. So let me start pretty close to the edge of the field here. And then, well, this is thin, so maybe it was accurate. So I did miss some at the end there. But I'm going to go ahead. You know, I'm going to stop here, because if I recall, I did determine I liked kind of starting up here. And then moving along, so I'm going to snap my line this way and then go across. You know, but we did, we didn't go very far, although it may be drawing away from there. Alright, I'm just trying to kind of line up a bit here. I think this will do it. So we'll start there, and then we'll get our GPS line set, lock onto it, and then go from there. So yeah, the good news is we're all set. It's easy enough to get this started. Lime is pretty persistent, so I'm not expecting any kind of issues, you know, once you plow it in or do anything like that, or plant it in. It's still there, but this is about the cycle when I would expect it, kind of that third year. Again, with precision farming, this will change when we finally get the opportunity to have it, but obviously we're not there yet. So I'm just going to take a quick peek at the map. I don't know why needs lime was turned off. Alright, so I guess it's just the field is that large and we were zoomed out that much that is the full width of the spreader. So yeah, so I think that was just dumping, if I remember, it was like 3,000 or 4,000 liters of lime. And then we were, you know, able to get the fertilizer that we needed into the spreader, is what was happening at that time. This is having a tough time up this hill. It's a cart that's already 20% empty. Glad I didn't start down here with it full. It might have taken me 10 minutes to get up the hill. So yeah, the key will be, you know, how much lime do I need to get all this done? But my hope is, because what I've got is probably at least, oh no, I don't have 10, I have 120,000. I was thinking I had 10 loads, but no. It's 18,000. That would be 189,000, not 119,000. So I have maybe 5 loads. So, and as this is going, the likelihood of not needing more is pretty low, I think. So I just need to be ready for that and go ahead and do this work. But the point was, there's nothing specific. I was going to get on the server and basically, you know, test out, does the food hit the buckets first off that I thought it was going to? So is sorghum really base food, as an example? So even as I was trying to set that, I'm off a little bit, but it's alright. It happens. And then, you know, are they in those buckets? And then just make sure that my volume is correct, and then over time I'll be a lot more clear on the time it takes to empty it, because I'll certainly kind of jot down when I filled it. You know, not that I couldn't have done that, I guess, with the purchase pig food as I think about it, but you know, I think it was more trying to understand how everything worked with the crops I was actually going to be providing. So yeah, I'm still debating on the protein side, since something like maybe sunflower or canola is available. Since it's a volume thing and not anything else, I really need to find the crops in each category that give me the highest yield. Because soybeans are low yield because you can sell them for a very high price, so it probably logically means that soybeans are probably not my best option for feeding pigs, because I'm giving them pretty expensive food that I could instead be selling some other way. So I should have kind of thought about that ahead of time, but now that I've gone through it, I can kind of see where I only have the, you know, barely 100,000 liters of that. You know, where with something else, if I could get double that or triple that off the field, obviously that means I have 2 or 3 times more time before I need to worry about replanting those crops. And that's kind of really the goal, is find a cycle where supplying the pigs requires the longest time, so that then the farm can do the other, you know, other things, other crops, and not be focused solely on the pigs. And at this point, my lowest bar is soybeans. I think potatoes are potatoes. I mean, those are good. Because to do sugar beets, I'd need all kinds of other equipment, where switching the other crops is just a matter of planting different seeds. But I already have everything I need for them. You know, the only difference, obviously, is sunflowers are like corn and require plowing after you grow them. So I would introduce that into the mix, but as we've discovered in FS22, the way it works right now is that plowing then avoids what I'm driving through here, which is a pile of weeds. So it might not actually turn into that much more work for that given year. I'll just be plowing, and I'll be swapping plowing for spraying. So that's the thought. Yeah, this is only my 4th pass here. I was thinking, maybe I'll finish this part with 1 load of lime, but I will not. I will definitely be short, because this field doesn't really get any thinner here. And, you know, we're already below 50%. And it's always the trick of trying not to start too early, but you don't want to start too late either. But yeah, compared to the sprayer or something, which is obviously significantly wider, I keep forgetting on these giant fields, you know, how diminutive this seems, which is just gives you a sense of how massive these fields are. Because you're looking on the map, it's like, oh, I must have been fertilizing at some segment, but I don't even think the spreader lets me change the width. It is what it is. But let's see. I don't think, like I said, yeah, not even halfway. And we've certainly got a ton up there and a ton below. So I certainly need to be prepared for a goodly amount of work, but spreading isn't as bad as some of the other things. It's certainly got a good working width. We're obviously moving at 11 versus 6 when we're harvesting. So, you know, almost double the speed. Probably double the working width or close to it. So. Alright, well I'm going to go ahead and keep moving along on this. I've kind of shared what I need to share as far as where we're at and what I'm planning on doing. And I'll be back when I'm ready to feed the pigs later today. You know, obviously I'll be back at the end of the lime or the stopping point of the lime, whatever comes first. And, you know, I'll give you an update there, but then, yeah, the ultimate goal is pig food. So, I'll see you in a bit. Alright, I am back, and I am done. So, took about $33,000 of lime. I had to fill up the silo a few times. And I'm going to have to empty this back into pallets for a truck to pick up. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that. I think I may want to empty what I have and then go from there. So the challenge obviously is always with the lime. The silo requires the auger. So I've got that all set up, and you can see I've been trying to get the existing process here with the truck in place. So I'm gonna try something here, because right now, like, I emptied from there. Let's see. Too far forward. Oh well. I tried. So I was hoping that I would be able to get the boxes right where I needed them, because at this point, you know, I basically kind of play this game of trying to maneuver the auger and then eventually get the truck in the right place, and it just takes a little bit of work here. So let's see, I think if I do that, and get that out of the way. So, and then I'll get in the truck, we'll pull that up, we'll get these loaded in here. So at this point I think they'll be okay, just the way they are. Hopefully I can get all three without moving again. And then I can get this tipped up into the silo. So that is what I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to finish that work up, because this could take way longer than one would think, as I found out. But at least you kind of understand what my setup is and what I'm doing. So see how it all goes, and I'll be back when I'm done. So I am trying to get this full. This should get me basically the 120,000 liters into the silo, because while I have all this set up, I want to kind of max everything out that I can. And obviously I need this truck empty for crops normally. There we go, we're within about 200 of being full, which I think is where we were before. So, you know, the key here is I used the crampy at one point, and Basically, that maxes out from a weight standpoint at about 22 or 23,000 liters. So to fill a 120,000 liter silo, I'm basically taking 6 trips. These trailers do have a max out as well. So it's not as if it's, yeah, we're going to have this fun that we have with this auger all the time, is that you lift it and then you got to get out and then eventually it falls back down. So I will do that, but get it put away first, and then we'll exit and let it drop, and then I think it'll work. But the max is about 27,000 per trailer. So I can get basically a little over 55,000 liters in a trip. So it's basically like 2.5 crampy trailers in one trip with the Wilson trailer. And it's not a challenge to pull. It's not, there's no downside to it, other than it is a little bit more challenging to play around with the auger. But you know, the reality ends up being, let's see now. Oops. There we go. Now I think it fell. Like once I clear, and I think once it started to lower, now I guess it's just always gonna hang. So I think I just need to like clear the space of the entry point or something. I don't know. But either way, is it telling me potential harvest of some crazy 2 million liters? Is that the grass or something? It must be. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Just I saw 2 million. I'm like, what is that about? So, yeah, I think overall this is a better way to get the lime here, is in this trailer, and do that. The other thing I'm going to do a little bit differently, because we've had some more notes posted on the FSN side about things that can cause problems for the server. So one of the things that they talked about is parking a trailer over a trigger point. So I think leaving those trailers in the silo the way I was doing, I think is a problem. So I think I'll go around the other way, because if I go here the way I was thinking, because I'm going to stop short of the silo, and if I do that, then I think I'm going to then not be able to, you know what, now I'm thinking this isn't going to work either, because I'm going to block my sheds. So I may have to find a totally different place to park this thing. But basically, like pulled through like this, where I'm kind of sitting on the trigger point or the fill point, I guess is a problem. So probably what I need to do is just maybe put it on the grass here, and then you know, it's out of the way. I can still get because the issue is I got to get the crampy in there to feed the pigs eventually. So I just want to do that, but rather than leave it over there and potentially give our server some difficulty, want to go ahead and take care of that. So the crampy trailer's out in the field, just when I left it, when I decided to change to the Wilson. So that's where that is. But you can see here we're at 2,564 liters. At this point, I'm kind of going to try to track what's happening, but I think we were at like 3,800 liters when I joined and synced the server up to 6 this morning. So in 4 hours, it went from 3,800 to 2,500. So basically, I'm sure at the top of the hour, it just changes. But I'm not entirely sure. But I think I've still got a few hours left before I'm going to be in danger of these things not having food, because as I said, basically they've consumed 1,300 liters in 4 hours. You know, if we assume 6, 7, 8, you know, I guess it would be 7, 8, 9, 10, which is 4 hours. Okay. So thinking out loud, sorry for the what might seem like the disjointed conversation. But at this point, I'm going to, put this on hold. I'm going to stop here, and then I'll come back when I am ready to go ahead, and we're going to play with the pigs, and that's going to end this episode of what we end up here. And in the interim, I'm also going to figure out, am I putting, assuming that base food is sorghum or corn, am I putting sorghum or corn on that field up north come spring? Because the planting time's the same, it's April, so we're still basically 4 days away from being able to do that. But it'd just be good to know what the plan is. I'm back now. It's about 6 hours later from last time I checked. 624 capacity. If I've gone ahead and done the math, it looks like they basically eat 242 liters every hour. Which, if that's true, that means it lasts over 5 days, but somehow we were getting less. I don't know. But at this point, we're going to start moving food in, and we're going to see how this all works. Alright, so we've got the crampy out here. Clearly I'm not lined up. Alright, so if I look here, I need 17,000 of base food, which should be the sorghum. So I'm going to try to get about 16,500 out of the silo. Alright, I need to be in the right bay. That always helps. I've always thought as I pulled in I saw start filling. I realize now it was the diesel tank in the first bay. Somehow I thought, oh, I can dump and fill in both bays, even though there isn't an output. But I was wrong. Alright, 16,457. That's close enough. Now what I'm going to do, because again, I'm trying to kind of understand what we have. Man, I am stuck on something. So we'll see if we get a running start. It just might be easier to back out of here at this point. Because I tried to move over, I didn't have enough space, but with the shorter trailer here, I'm able to do that. So just to make sure it's base food, I am going to just dump a little bit into the pig silo, because I want to make sure that it doesn't kind of just start distributing it everywhere. It wouldn't make sense that it would, but I just don't like making any kind of assumptions. Alright. This is harder than I thought it would be in the dark. And it's not that late, it's winter time, so it's clearly giving me a little bit of a challenge here. So let me get back to the silo. Alright, so taking a quick look at this, I just dumped a tiny bit, and these three have stayed the same. So that does mean sorghum is base food. So I'm going to go ahead and dump all of this in there. That's going to get me that amount. And then I need to divide the others. So basically that was 17,000. This will be 8,500. So if we get a little over 8,000 of wheat, and then yeah, I'm definitely going to take a little bit more time monitoring. I'm going to know it's 6 p.m. in December when we put all the food in. And so I'll write some numbers down, and I'm just kind of going to track this, at least for a bit, and just make sure that consumption is consistent. Because it shouldn't be any higher than that. It might get lower than that when I take 36 pigs out in a few days. Let's get about 8,000 here. Alright. That was sheer luck. I really would love to get the fill limit back on the trailers, because it would be great to be able to set things perfectly, but I have not seen a mod like that appear for FS22 yet. But, it's those little things that you just don't realize how valuable they are for just quality of life in the game. Because it's definitely a really nice feature. Whoops. I think that's going to be, yeah, That's not recoverable. Not that way. There's a tree there. Alright, I saved you the time backing in. So there we go. We've got grain up there. You can see we're starting to get total capacity. Okay, so protein is 20%, which should be about 3,400. No, that doesn't seem right. I'm hoping I didn't estimate this wrong. So I think I need about 6,500 in there. I'm just not sure if I'm doing this right, but because then I think it's like 1,700 of the potatoes. So if I did my math right before, it should be about 6,800 that we want in total. So we have about 100 something in there, so that'll get me close, right about where I want it, but it's obviously higher than the 3,400 I thought I needed, and it was just not sitting in my head right, like something sounds off. And I realized I was doing it on the 17,000, on the 50% that I already had in there for the base food. And obviously that's 50%, not 100%, so I need to double that, is the simplest way. Just like any other math problem, there's a couple ways to get to the right answer in most cases. So this will be it, and then we have 1,700 liters or so of potatoes, which I may try a little more. Really, I have to be like right on this thing? Wow. I thought like get nearby, get near the silo, that'll be good enough, but clearly they're saying no. Alright. Soybeans in there. So now we've got protein, and then again 1,700, so if I get 1,600-ish or so. Now the thing is, where I was, although it would have been more challenging with this, whoops, there's a tree there. Serves me right for doing this in the dark, right? Anyway, I should be able to pull through the trees there. I don't think there's any little tree hidden here. Nope, just bushes. No, what I was starting to say is the difference is I've got the intake and the output on two different sides. So like my thought was if I pulled too much in there, I could just very quickly dump it back into the silo. I can do the same thing. It's just going to take more effort here if I do that. So, alright, so we got potatoes. Alright, I may actually have too many, but it's going to be close. I don't know, I think there's only like 30 or something in there, so I might be okay. But I just kind of wanted to get it full. Actually, you know what? There was going to be a test I was going to do, so let me get more. Because I was going to see now. I'm assuming I'll fill the silo. That's what I was trying to do. Is that, so let me do, that'll be more than enough. So I will have to come back and dump potatoes later. But the intent is, what I want to understand is, will it let me fill to 100% of each type and then just distribute appropriately? Because if I could throw more food in there, I mean, again, if it's just consuming it at the appropriate rate, I don't care if I have it sitting in the pigsty or if I have it in the silo, because it's just, you know, it's doing its thing in the pigsty, where in the silo, obviously, I just have to get it there, and I have to avoid the pigs getting empty and so forth. But I think it's going to limit me to the total capacity of the sty. So the thought was like, well, if I just like filled sorghum to 100%, you know, and then filled wheat to 100% and so forth. Can I do that? I don't think it'll let me do that, but that's what we're testing here, basically. Because if we can, then I may go ahead and do some other, you know, go top everything off. Because there's not really a reason not to. Alright, here we are. Potatoes. I think I got too close is what happened. So let me pull away a bit. Is it full already? Okay. So yes. So I got the answer to my question. So it just was so little. It got the 1700. So yeah, I just need to be aware of the numbers. So basically it's 17,000 for the base food, 6,800 for the protein, 1,700 for the root crops, but we have more because we had some capacity and we didn't use the others. And then I think it was 8,500 for the grain. But the question, you know, again becomes, whoops, do I really get 5 days out of this? So I got this done within the same hour, because I had verified kind of through watching that basically it will lower the food or consume the food at the top of the hour, basically. So at this point, like the 242 that it's going to take, it will do that at 1900 hours. And then it'll all be, oops, a little too sharp, but it'll all be good, is what I was going to say. So we'll dump these potatoes back in so that the crampy is empty. And then we'll take the crampy back, park it away. But at this point, we're good. And the most important thing is we're done buying pig food, unless I have some sort of a crop fiasco where I have timing off a little bit. But even then, I question if it's worth it, because while the mix won't be as high, what may happen is the health may drop a bit, because it's not 100% effective if I suddenly run out of one crop. But if I'm only doing that for, you know, a little bit a year, it may be worth taking a little bit of the hit and getting a little less productivity than, you know, spending money for pig food. Because I think the pig food will distribute itself kind of evenly again. And so I don't think I'd have the situation like if I went to dump pig food in, where 100% of it would go to what I needed it to fill in. So let's say I kind of filled everything in appropriately. I think it would still distribute, and then I would just have overages in the other kinds of food, and it really wouldn't get me the effectiveness that I would be hoping for. But who knows? The hope is I never have to worry about it, that I'll stay on top of it, and if it really ends up being that I can get 5 days out of it, then I'm actually in much better shape, and we're going to know that very quickly with the next crop. Okay, so the last piece that I looked at was base food, corn or sorghum, because that was my short end of the stick as far as what I had available. And it's looking like sorghum, I think, is better. I think it consumes less supply, and it's very, very close to the same yield. So the problem is, obviously, I didn't plant the same field space, or even a field space I'm completely sure of, in the fields that I just planted, which was obviously where the sorghum was included. So if I make an assumption that half the field was sorghum, I got 189,000 liters of sorghum off that field compared to 475,000 liters of corn. But if I then double that, you know, I'm basically looking at 360,000 sorghum. But once again, I may have been at 40%, and so it might be right there. But then the difference too was that I'm looking like I would have maybe 18,000 or 12, between 12 and $18,000 of supplies into the field, where with corn it cost me 27,000. And they were very similar in that I didn't have any herbicide in those fields, where obviously here I will, because everything had been plowed down there. So from an apples to apples perspective, that's accurate. Now, if I plow before corn, which normally I wouldn't have, and again, in this case, I won't be plowing before it either, like that mix comes in, and the herbicide basically is got to do with the field and just how effective I am, which the fertilizer does too, but somehow, you know, I had consumed a lot more down there. The other problem was obviously I was dividing some of the costs and so forth. So at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the sorghum because it won't force a plow of the crop. And so if I can avoid that, because what I may be doing is trying sunflowers in place of the soybeans. I mean, I'll take a look at what canola is before we plant the replacement for soybeans, but and then sunflowers requires plowing, so otherwise I'd have 2 of the 4 crops that are going to need some sort of plowing, and I'd prefer to obviously limit that if I can. So that's where I'm at, but at this point pigs are full up. We're going to have 2 months. We're going to have some pigs to empty out. So I've also taken down my stats so that I can track the pig consumption and see how that all plays out over time. Definitely I will take another sounding point before I remove the pigs and change the volume of pigs in the sty. You know, and then we'll go from there and see if it gets longer or shorter, but we'll take a look. Now that we have the crops on hand, as long as I pay attention to things, I should be better able to figure out what's happening, because the issue is, like, I can always top off the food at any point instead of, you know, going to buy pig food. Like, I don't have to go very far. I'm just going to the silo. So once I've got my measures, I don't have to sit there and be like, ooh, I want to get it really close to empty. I want to do whatever. But so I babbled on again. Enough as always at the end here, but we're good. So end year, or as we approach the end of year 86, we've still got a couple more months the way the cycle works. We got to get through all of winter, which will be January and February. But we are now self-sufficient on our pigs, which has been the goal since we bought them several years ago. So we finally achieved that. Hip hip hooray. I'll see you next time.